All right, welcome everybody to today's episode on Laid Back the Aturizinga podcast. And today we'll be talking about religion. And to talk about this today, I have with me Stunner. Hello, Stunner.
Hey, what up?
Hello, Stunner. So
Yeah, it's
I'm
it's it's,
having
it's been a
because
while though.
yeah, it's been a long time, and
It's been a
I've
long
known.
time we actually talk to each other. I mean, we'd usually like text or something on Twitter, but
Yeah. So it's been a long time, and Stunner and I we've known each other for so many years now, and and just recently I found out that he can actually pick money at my wedding because
if you like, don't go and get married, man.
you
Don't
can
get
pick money at
married.
my wedding because at least he showed me he can handle money. You can actually trust
Yeah,
him with your money.
yeah, I can. I
Yeah,
believe I can actually.
yeah, but not you can't trust so many people with money. To be fair, you can't trust so many people with even 5 naira and stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
people
yeah,
can be money changes people a
man.
lot.
But I
Yeah.
don't think so. I don't think money changes anybody. I think money just brings out what you have inside of you. And I keep saying this, like when you talk to people and they tell you power is evil. Let me even put it out there that power is evil. It makes me laugh because I don't believe so. Because I think every human being you meet, one way or the other, if you notice, if you're a quiet person, you see that person is trying to overpower you. Like I don't know why, but every human being likes power, and it's when they have power, maybe it's the money that will now give them that power. When they have that power, you now realize like their authentic self will come out. Who they really are will actually come out.
Yeah, I think it has more to do with it. It's to an extent a survival instinct. So, when you have power, you control things, and when you're in control of virtually every aspect of your life and of people's lives,
Yeah.
then somehow you're likely to survive any most trials and tribulations or whatever that come your way. But to an extent, I don't believe people really change. Like I believe there's that innate I'll say problem people have that innate those innate habits or features, I guess, and people kind of like, I mean, you can technically call it change, but people adapt to situations. But
Yeah.
those things that make them those building blocks of their lives, those features, whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
are who they are.
Yeah.
If those things might not show up at some point in their lives, or depending on what environment they are at any point in time, because it's not going to help them, it's not going to suit whatever environment they find themselves in at that point in time.
Yeah.
So yeah. So do people really change? I don't know. It's debatable though, but I don't
No,
think so.
I think some people are malleable. Malleable is when you can
Oh
actually,
yeah, malleable is a good word here.
yeah,
Actually, it's
you can actually mold them into something, or they can mold themselves into something to get what they want. But change, I don't think anybody actually because, like, and if putting out the ball, there's how I deal with people, and maybe there's a certain character they show me, and in my head I've already told myself, nah, I don't think that there's anything I want to do with this person going forward. It might sound mean to the person, but I've seen enough to know that maybe I cannot trust the person with anything. Like
yeah, actually, yeah, because
there's no
if
need
you
for me
deal
to
with
go forward. Yeah,
true, because if you deal with people long enough, you get to realize that traits they had when you met them when they were maybe 12 or 13,
it doesn't really change.
that's
Yeah,
to an extent in their 20s they still have it. Let me say, it may not show up the way it used to show up back
yeah,
then, but it would still be the same traits basically. It's just a different version of it, or an extended version of of
yeah.
that trait. It could be worse, it could be a bit better.
Yeah, but it depends. It depends because I feel like some people actually, and at the end of the day, they have this power to actually look introspectively and then find out they actually fuck up and try to actually work on it. Some people do, some people don't. But the one that actually gets to me is if I meet anybody and they give me this vibe, they have a lot of envy and jealousy in them. I don't think it changes. Like I withdraw immediately. I don't think they know they do it, but once I feel it, like the person has a lot of envy and jealousy, within him or her.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
It
because
doesn't
envy and
change.
jealousy breeds hate, and of course, you know what hate breeds. I mean,
Yeah.
history is has shown us that hate breeds a lot of evil, basically.
Man.
So,
Man,
yeah,
a lot of you that you can't even compare, because if that kind of person, I believe if you're around that kind of person, even if the person is your brother or your friend, and anything happen, like even when things are going for you, you see that the person still not be happy for you. One word, no matter how much the person is happy, the smile on his face, whatever, you can actually tell, because you know the person to be a jealous or an envious person. Not that the person
true.
will be
Yes, some
plotting
people,
evil for you. The person will be plotting something for you, not
True.
necessarily evil, but something.
Yeah, because some
But
people can't
because-
seem to hide, jealousy or envy or hate or whatever I call it.
Yeah,
Because
they can't.
because it's there's this saying or belief rather that jealousy is a human trait.
It is.
Yeah. Do you see someone and feel, oh, maybe this person, I should be there instead and not this person? Yes, but the difference is how you react towards it.
Exactly.
So does this spoil you to become a better person? If that's the case, then that's good.
Yeah.
No, but if it pushes you towards evil thoughts, that's where it becomes really horrible.
Sometimes it doesn't necessarily need to lead to evil thought for me to be so cautious of it. Because, for example, let's say we go to a place and we get there, maybe you see, okay, let's say we go to a club now. Let's say we go to a club and there's this guy there who is German, who's everybody's telling him. I know deep down, human beings might be saying, "Oh, I wish I was this person who's everybody's he has this influence on others." I get that, but when you now see somebody there murmuring throughout the night, saying stupid shit about the person doesn't have to plan evil towards the person, but saying stupid shit about the person throughout the night, it leaves a bad thing on my mind. In my head, I'm like, I cannot trust this person for anything, because
I
can spend all night complaining about this guy, or maybe
I get
so
what you're
envious
saying
about a person like that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's almost the same thing I'm saying. So the problem with that behavior is you can't look that this person in question can't look beyond that what he's seeing.
Yeah,
in 5 minutes he sees it and he just can't get over it. He's like, oh, why is this person here? Why is this person here? Oh, I knew when this person was my junior in secondary school, or I knew when this, it's something. Oh, this guy that grew up in this horrible neighborhood, why is he here? Now he can't seem to get over it. And the problem with not being able to get over the fact that this person is successful because of whatever, he doesn't necessarily need to have gotten his money through legitimate means. The important thing is that at that moment, he seemed successful to a lot of people. Yeah. The problem with it is if you don't check that feeling you have at that point in time and let it stew, over time, it leads to it motivates you to an extent. Now, what does it motivate you to be a better person, or does it motivate you to take the broad road? I'm trying to do this, so heaven and narrow road and open road, heaven, using that reference here, and then the broad open road being the one that leads to evil, I guess. So I'm not really a religious person, but I knew this growing up. So where it motivates you to go is what path it motivates you to take is what matters at this point in time.
Yeah.
If that starts too long, there's a big likelihood it's gonna take you down. You're gonna end up in some cesspool, and you're gonna end up doing something. Of course, being a cesspool, you've done something bad, and that's it. It goes downhill from there. That's what I believe.
But on that note, since you said you are not a religious person, so let's go into the topic of religion now. So if you are not a religious person, first of all, what does religion mean to you, and when did you get to that point to tell yourself, okay, do you know what, I don't believe in religion anymore, I should go the other way? I think I'm going to go the other way. So what do you think? What does it mean to you? What does religion mean to you?
Religion as it's practiced today in Nigeria and even here in the United States is let me say Nigeria generally, it's not really crazy over here, but growing up in a country where things don't work. I mean, you're Nigerians, we grew up in the same state, we attended the same school, so you basically know what I mean by things don't work. where the government is corrupt, everyone is corrupt, everyone is looking to fleece every other person. And even if you're not Nigerian, you probably have heard bad news about, bad things about Nigerians trying to, there's the Nigerian scam, all that. But that's not really the case here. But growing up in an environment where basic things didn't and still don't seem to work, and then within that same environment, everyone is overly religious, and of course, being overly religious, you're either Muslim or Christian. Very few people practice the
traditional
religion or other. Yeah. So, growing up in southeastern Nigeria, everyone was basically Christian.
Yeah.
And then at the point, you got to notice like there was a church on every street corner. At the point, it grew to 2 churches. At the point, it grew to 3 churches. And then, they have the loudspeakers, and this person is screaming out his own, whatever his interpretation of the Bible is. And this person is screaming his out, and this person is screaming his out. And then things are getting worse.
Yeah.
You begin to wonder, like, if these people believe so much in this supreme being that is supposed to be all-knowing, that's supposed to be helpful, is supposed to, according to his promises, I used to be Christian, believe in me and this won't happen and that will happen, and the country is like that. It's, you begin to wonder, like, is this really real? Like, does it really make sense? If these people are adhering to the words of the supreme being, why are things the way they are? Now, you travel out of the country, you go to certain countries, with the statistics out there now, in the Western world, people are becoming less religious because they see no reason for it to be religious, actually. So, you hear certain countries, old cathedrals are being converted to hotels or whatever, because people don't attend these churches anymore. But in these so-called Western countries, where people have become atheist or agnostic or whatever it is, things work. So there was a debate the other day. I mean, it comes up every now and then. Oh, and why is it that Nigerians leave Nigeria, and when they move to the West, they stop attending church? And everybody in the West will tell you, man, it's simple. In the West, things work. So you notice that the things you pray for in Nigeria, in the West, these things are basic stuff. Like, you don't necessarily need to pray to have electricity. You don't need to pray for the government to fix your road. You don't need to pray for the healthcare system in your country to work. Like, you don't need to pray for these things.
Yeah.
So if you're in a country where these things work, if you're religious, maybe what you're praying for, okay, God, keep me healthy, or I want to be rich, give me an idea that will make me rich. But if you get some inspiration from an idea and apply it, it's likely to work. It doesn't work. And I'm not even talking of just Nigeria. Look at most black countries on earth right now. Africa, the ones in the Australias, the ones in even in the Americas. And it seems like there's a big problem with all these, with the race generally. I don't want to say the black race has an issue, but when you look at it, it's like there's a problem somewhere. These people are very, very religious people, yet things don't seem to work out for them. Why is that?
Okay. So on that note, like, let me ask a question now. So do you think Nigeria is the way it is because religion is bad? And do you think the West is the way the West is because they realize that religion is bad? Or maybe they don't really believe in religion anymore, and everybody's now, you have a lot of people who are atheists and agnostic. Do you think that's why the West is working and Nigeria is not working? Because religion is bad.
The West, I think, is working today because they used to be pretty religious back in the day, but they've walked through a lot of their problems, and they've been able to separate religion from politics to an extent. I mean, so you can argue that today there's a lot of infusion of religion into politics in some parts of the West, but it doesn't stop things from working. The problem with the religion in the where we grew up in Africa excuse me, is people use religion as the backing to do a lot of the
evil as well.
The evil they do, which was even the case in the West. When slavery was a thing, a lot of these slave masters felt, cherry picked verses from the Bible which they used to justify, slavery. Or masters don't, servants don't disobey your masters and all these things. And then they made sure the slaves couldn't read, so that they wouldn't read the Bible. And then at the point they had a Bible that just had verses that promoted servitude, basically. And that was what these slaves, so-called slaves or servants, had access to. Now in Africa, you have these pastors or men of God in air quotes, who just stay and preach all day and tell you how some specialize in the prosperity doctrine, some specialize in healing, so-called healing, some specialize in prophecy. Prophecy is one big market now, and everyone wants to know what tomorrow holds for them.
But I get that, but I know, but still, I wouldn't say I'm so religious anymore. But and I still don't think things are the way they are in Nigeria because of religion.
No, I was actually getting there.
Okay. Let me let you finish first. Then.
Yeah. So you see, you go to let me say a federal establishment in Nigeria, an office or a state establishment, government-run office. You go there 8 a.m. Oh, you guys are supposed to be ready by up and running by 8 a.m. And you go there and they tell you, oh, we're having our morning prayers. And then they take their good time, pray for 30, 45 minutes. And then this is an office that's supposed to be open by 8 a.m. Then they resume operations at 9. And then you go meet this lady, who just finished leading the praise and worship session during the prayer, whatever it is they did. And then she's asking you for a bribe to do her job she's being paid to do. Yeah. And then you begin to wonder, so this prayer you just said now, what was the whole point of saying this prayer? Was it to get you more bribes or something? And then you have these so-called men of God who don't, there's few of them who try to tell the truth, but you have these government officials who they're supposed to tell the reality, who they're supposed to tell, hey, whatever you're doing is wrong. They would never do it. They sit down, they preach prosperity. They try to criticize to an extent. These men of God these politicians come and donate like millions of stolen monies, and you say nothing about it. I grew up, we grew up at GRA, and you remember when adoration, Father Mbaka's adoration used to hold, it was pretty just about a couple feet behind my house. You remember and then it used to hold on Wednesdays, right? Wednesday nights. And to drive into GRA at the time, and this is GRA we're talking about here. This was supposed to be, some bougie reserved area, whatever. That was the plan, I guess. And then you try to drive in, and the entire place is filled up with people. It will take you an hour to drive into your neighborhood, and no one saw a problem with it. And then Thursday morning, everywhere is all stinky, stench, urine, name it. And then they hold a program the next week, and Monday morning, when people are supposed to be at their offices, that's the adoration ground, the old adoration ground at GRA, and they're there for from maybe 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. And you get to realize a lot of these people are work people who are supposed to be at their offices. This is just an example. You go down the street, you hear some praise and worship happening on a Tuesday morning in someone's house. Somebody has suddenly gotten the calling from God, and it's time to where I now see, I now have God speaks to me, and I can tell you what tomorrow is going to be and all that shit. And then you see grown men and women who are supposed to be working or hustling on a Tuesday morning, that they're trying to get whatever it is they're trying to get. And then this same Bible says, when 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, or ask and you shall find, and all these things. So at what point do you realize your beef? Yeah, okay, sorry, go ahead.
But this thing you just said, I get it. I get it that people end up living what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be productive. They end up doing going out there to look for pastors in search of miracles and all. But the same thing, we can also say the same thing actually happened in the world, because if you remember, you and I, I'm sure, because I think you were the one that introduced me to that documentary. You've seen the documentary of the Osho guy. How people travel from the West, even intellectuals from the West, Germany, England, US, everywhere, travel to India to actually meet Osho in search of like the truth. They're trying to find peace or whatever. And when Osho ended up traveling, relocating from India to America, they all went to America to live with him, if you remember.
So in Oregon, somewhere in Oregon.
So this is not just a Nigerian thing.
But it's a game of numbers, Or it's a game of ratios, I guess. It's because you check the number of people in the West who run to these people, who run to these gurus or whatever, and you check the number of you compare it rather to the number of Nigerians who have been bamboozled by religion and faith, that they can't tell wrong from evil. They can't tell responsible behavior from irresponsible, or from evil, basically, whatever phrase you want to use there. They can't tell the difference. So the time you're supposed to be productive, because you've been brainwashed so much, you're there asking God for something you can provide for yourself. You see where religion is a problem in that part of the world. Over here, things work. Someone who's going to church on a Monday morning over here probably gets a check from the government at the end of the month. It could be a disability check, it could be a social security check, it could be whatever it is. But this person is in a system where he knows, worst comes to worst, he wouldn't starve. He will get some kind of accommodation. He will get some kind of assistance from the government. Over there, you're getting nothing. Why not use that time to be productive? You can argue that the unemployment rate is ridiculously high, that cost of doing business is high, that things, but it doesn't mean you can't try to make something out of yourself, rather than spending days and nights in church, dry fasting for 3-4 days and all that.
Okay, let's put it this way. Don't you think people are just religious because the system doesn't work? Because if you think about it, for example, let's say someone comes to your family now to pray for everybody in your family. A pastor comes to your family to pray for everybody. Maybe you are one of the, since you're not religious, maybe you do not believe whatever he's saying, or maybe the person tell you there's somebody chasing you, that's why you're not going to be successful, wherever. You don't believe what the person is actually saying. But because everybody in your family is like, hey, he's a man of God, talk not my anante. So you are now forced to actually do it, not be as if I was told this thing and I didn't take action. Instead of waiting for the thing to happen to you, this is what I mean. True. So what exactly? That's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. My point here now is, if people are actually like that, it doesn't necessarily mean they are so religious, because I don't think they really believe. They're just doing it just in case. Let me just do this, so just in case. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they believe.
Okay, so, let me say something.
Would you blame religion on that?
Yeah, the thing is, you were given a brain for a reason. So at one point you get to realize, like, this, whatever it is we've been trying for the past how many years isn't working. I don't know if it was Einstein that said it. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same results. Yeah. I was seeing a documentary the other day on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it yet. It dropped a couple days ago. It was about a family of 11 that died that supposedly committed suicide in 11 members of a family somewhere in India, Burari. I forgot to watch.
I've heard about it, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, so I just saw the documentary. Funny enough, I didn't hear about it. It happened 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But it turned out the main reason they did it was religious conviction. A certain member of the family who probably had issues, thought he was being given, divine directions from a late member of the family.
Yeah.
And then he convinced members of his family, some of them master's degree holders, to perform a dangerous religious ritual. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, they thought they were not going to die, but why they would think that, it's up to them. But they ended up doing this because they felt, oh, okay, whatever this man has said over the past years has worked. Oh, he said we should do this, he said we should do that, he said we should do this, he said we should do that. But at the end of the day, they died. You should say, I don't want to spoil it for you or anybody who's listening. But yeah. But the thing is, why the hell would someone who's educated? And one thing about education is it comes with a certain level of exposure.
Yeah.
So it's not just the education that changes your mindset or that makes you question things. The exposure does that too.
Yeah.
So why would you, as an exposed person, go try out a religious ritual is dangerous, that could end in death?
Yeah.
So religion, it's
okay,
as much as
I understand what you're saying. But I still stand on this fact that some people do things not necessarily. I don't blame religion, and some people do things because not necessarily because they believe, it's because, hey, if I don't do this and it happens to me, what would I say? Then, because for example, let me give you an example. I remember during lockdown. You remember when Chris Lomi was saying so many things about 5G this, 5G that. If you take there's no scientific proof to even back anything he was saying. I found it funny. Like there was no scientific proof to back anything he was saying. But people were fighting tooth and nail to actually defend what he was saying. Even educated people, if you remember. Like people
exactly. You could tell that some of the people in the audience were probably even you probably had computer engineers there, you had network engineers, you probably had soft, and they were there like, oh, Daddy, ride on. And at some point, okay. But
do you think it's all about religion? Because if we start blaming religion, because I think the problem with religion in the world is our perception of things, because I don't think religion itself is a problem. I keep saying it. The problem here is perception of things. For example, you see a pastor, the pastor expects what he says to be A and amen. And if he finds you, for example, I did this in a lot when I was younger. When you go to Bible study, in church, and then at the end of the day, pastor will say something, or you start asking a lot of questions. And this is when I was young, when I used to do that, they didn't like me because I was so curious. Like, I have to question everything because I don't understand why I have to do this and why I have to do that. And let me tell you a funny story now. For example, when we were growing up and you start having wet dreams and all this bullshit, then I asked the pastor then, why do you think that happens? Because I feel like there's something wrong with me. As a young child, you get, why does that thing happen? And the person was telling me, spirit this, spirit that. But then I got so scared. Then I went back and told myself, okay, do you know what? Let me research on my own. And I started finding things about the incubus spirits, all those things, incubus and the rest of them. Then I started doing science more, and I started trying as much as possible to understand science. Then when you start talking about science, then I understood. Then I got to understand homeostasis. You remember what homeostasis is? Yeah. Like, there must be a balance in internal system in your body. So if the production of cell, the rate of production of cell must match the rate of destruction of every cell. So if you're a young child or a man, whatever, and you're producing sperm cells and you're not using them, there must be a way for your body to actually deplete those ones you've not used as they're getting worn out for you to produce new ones. Yes. So there must be homeostasis in your system, no matter what you do. It's life. So because the moment you're producing new ones and the old ones are not dying, that's cancer. Straight up. We all know that. But then, and I asked this question religiously to understand what it meant. The answer I was given was rubbish. So now, don't you think religion is not really the problem, but our perception of things? Because the answer the person gave me didn't make any sense to me. But I didn't blame religion because I feel like the person that's his own understanding.
Yeah, see where you're getting it. I don't say getting it wrong, but see where what you're not considering. His perception of things has to do with his religious views of what he's grown up understanding, how he's perceived things in life from a religious lens, because he grew up believing in whatever faith he grew up believing in. Most people join whatever sect or denomination or religion they join because they were born into it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people actually, very few people actually leave whatever it is they were born into and try something else. Some might because of, change of environment. Yeah. But the thing is, Pastor Chris was saying whatever, he was saying because it's what he believed in. The problem with that is it's not backed by science. And I tell people things when people try to tell me, how do you explain this? How do you explain that? How do you explain this? I tell people 100 years ago there was no polio vaccine. 100 years ago there was no insulin. I think I have the time right. Yeah. But what happened over time? Some scientists somewhere, either by fluke or by experiments, discovered a polio vaccine, discovered insulin, discovered whatever it was, and now certain things that were not treatable 100 years ago are treatable now. Malaria used to kill people like pretty easily. Just 2 or 3, I think it was last week, it was announced that there's been a breakthrough in the malaria vaccine and the World Health Organization might actually approve one. So where am I going with this? Anything science cannot explain to you today, it probably would be able to tomorrow. Will be able to tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow may not be 50 years time. It may be in 1,000 years. It may be 2,000 years. It might be 10,000 years down the line.
Okay.
Will new problems arise? Of course, new problems will arise. Will religion be? What did religion tell you was? Religion probably had its interpretation of polio or tuberculosis, or before tuberculosis, before it got BCG and all those things. It had its interpretation of it. Oh, you got this because you were on the wrong side of things. You sinned, you did this, that's why you have this. Okay, go wash yourself in this river for 10 hours or whatever. And then the person would end up dying. And what did BCG do? BCG taken as a kid will ensure you don't contract tuberculosis or something. So okay, let me give you another example. There's a lot of vaccine hesitancy today, to take the COVID-19, vaccine. Why? Because a lot of so-called men of God out there in the Western world, in the developing world, are preaching against it. A lot of them, it's 5G, the government is trying to control you. It's this, it's that, it's evil, it's the mark of the beast. The Bible, predicted it. And people are really dying. And instead of people to look back, okay, I took all these vaccines as a kid. Look at me today, I don't have polio, I don't have tuberculosis, I don't have this, I don't have that. Instead of them to go sit back and think, I took all these vaccines, look at me today, I'm fine. They're here fighting the vaccine. I'm going to go do my own research. Look at Nicki Minaj the other day. I'm not saying has anything to do with religion, but a lot of people are influenced by religion today. They don't want to take it because of it. But
let's put it this way. Let's put it out there first for people to know this about the whole thing about religion. Okay. First of all, I have to mention that Pastor Chris was actually fined £125,000 because of everything he said.
Misinformation. Yeah.
Exactly, that's misinformation. That's rubbish. I get that. But where you now say science, anything cannot explain now, you can actually explain it later with science. Not necessarily, because I am a scientist, and there's something I have to put out there about science. I think all of us, we are scientists. I think we do not understand. When you're making a pot of soup, you're a scientist. You're actually doing something. And what I'm trying to make is, science is all about. The scientific mind is creative. It's all about you finding. It's not about, like, I don't believe science is about you. For example, what is biology? And you update what you know. Then biology is no. Science or the scientific mind is creative. You're always thinking about ways to solve a problem. That's science. You're always looking for creative ways in your mind to solve a particular issue, to become creative and find solutions to that particular problem. That's what science is. So, for example, let's say you talked about malaria vaccine. I remember back in 2013, by 2014, Bill Gates, that people are complaining today that he wants to kill everybody.
Yeah.
By 2013, there was a project going on in Nigeria. I don't know, I'm not sure people knew about it, but there was a project going on in Nigeria. He actually financed. He has been pushing for Nigeria, since Nigeria is a big country, for them to actually produce this malaria vaccine. I don't think they ended up doing it. I'm not sure. I don't know what they got from the whole thing. But the thing about vaccine, and like I said, I think the whole thing is that I don't think religion is bad. I feel the problem I have with people is they believe so much in the person he says. But when you read the Bible, the Bible is totally different. This is what because for example, if I want to lead a sect of people and I know what I say, I have to say in such a way that to keep them under my under my influence or control or whatever. I have to focus on those topics or those verses in the Bible that will keep them under my control, isn't it? But if you read the Bible, there are so many things you can find you can find out for yourself. You don't have to wait for the pastor or whatever to find these things for you or tell you things. But the thing is, when it comes to religion, like we and I know these things. Some people, they never open the Bible until the next Sunday, for example. So they only take what they heard from that pastor or that reverend. This is what I mean. So after that Sunday, that's it. The following Sunday is when they're going to open the Bible again. Then don't open it. Whatever they open within the week is maybe they follow a rhapsody or whatever. But my point is, if you actually read the Bible randomly on your own, you get what I mean? On your own, you find out you find verses that can actually back my claim. I don't think religion is bad. I think I still stand on the fact that I feel like it's just all about perception on how people actually perceive things. Because I don't think there's anywhere in a religion where it says scientific creation and all these things are bad. Okay, like let's link this thing now to, you remember in 1999, 2000, Y2K bug bullshit. You remember the Y2K thing at the rest of them? Everybody was so scared because it was even worse in Nigeria. And there was another one, I can't remember what it was. They said Virgin Mary is going to appear and the world is going to end. Remember that time?
Some BS about 3 days darkness.
Darkness and all this bullshit. Like, if you remember all those things that actually happened back then, and then the Y2K thing actually made it worse. They made us believe that computers are here to actually kill everybody. If you remember, Y2K.
Yeah, that was everything was going to crash.
Everybody.
There was going to be a bug. The computers couldn't process beyond 31st December 99, something like that. Yeah, I think.
Exactly. But look, how many years ago? That's like 20 years ago. Thereabout. 20 years on, everybody's using a computer. Everybody's using an iPad. Everybody's using a phone. This is what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people have even forgotten about that episode in history. They've forgotten about that. Like,
they have. But
it
doesn't rarely comes up these days.
Yeah, I think people question things they are not sure of. It makes them uncomfortable. It doesn't have anything to do with religion. So this vaccine thing hold on, like this vaccine thing we're talking about now, if you think about it, and I know some, Pastor Chris has done his own bit, but most people question things, not necessarily just because of religion. It's just because they can't understand it, they don't understand it. That's it.
Okay. But the thing is, religion influences how these people think. Every thought of theirs is influenced by religion. Oh, I have to travel tomorrow. Oh, I have to call my man of God first so that he prays for me, or he tells me if I can travel or not. Oh, I have to get married. Oh, first of all, we have to go ask. Oh, I have this relative who this aunt who didn't attend her kids' weddings, 2 of her daughters' weddings. Why? Because the daughters wouldn't join her to go see her man of God at the time, to go know if the men they were about to marry to were for them.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. And this thought was inspired by religion. If she wasn't a religious person, or if she was just a casual religious person, she would. I don't think religion is generally bad, honestly. I think it's done some good. She has its benefits. I mean, everything has its benefits. So if you're just a casual, should I say, casual religious person, you just go to church, read your Bible here and there, and you don't let yourself be influenced by what some of these people say, which is difficult because if you believe in your man of God and he tells you something you're supposed to believe in. So if you don't let these things, if you're not easily influenced by what some of these people say, you wouldn't sit down and start thinking, oh, before I travel, I have to call this man. I mean, you could pray for yourself in the bus and go. It doesn't mean like if there's an accident, you may not die, but at least you do your own part. So a lot of these thoughts these people have are inspired by religion. They're there thinking, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this, I have to do that. It's because of their religious thoughts. They're not thinking with a clear mind. They're not thinking with a rational mind. They've thrown logic out of the window. And that is one thing religion does. Religion makes you throw logic out of the window. Something that makes logical sense will make no sense to you because you're thinking in an irrational manner because of religious doctrine. Some people might read their Bible. The problem with the Bible contradicts itself a lot. You pick up the Bible, you read the Old Testament, you move to the New Testament, it says something different. But then you can't throw the Old Testament away. Some pastors try to do it these days. Try not to preach any Old Testament doctrine except it has to do with tithing or whatever. And that's when they jump to the Old Testament. But then every other thing there is taboo. Let me give you an example. Lot's daughters, had drugged him, basically, got him drunk and had sex with him.
Yeah.
And then procreated. So, we're technically products of incest, I guess. And it's there in the Bible. How are you supposed to defend that? Or that Elijah called on 42 bears, 2 bears to maul 42 kids, something like that. How do you defend that? And then come to the New Testament, it's preaching, strawberries and grapes and Shangri-Las and all these things. And then move to Revelation. Revelation is preaching doom and all these things. See, okay, look at this. Was it late 80s? You've heard about Jim Jones, right?
Yeah.
Jim Jones convinced people to live their lives in the United States, a lot of them doing well, to move to Guyana.
Yeah. And
then what happened? He ended up killing them all.
Yeah.
Had them drink whatever it was, some poison thing, This was inspired by religion. At what point do you ask yourself, is this man even making sense? Like, is what he's saying making sense? Is it logical?
Yeah, okay.
Is it going to end well? But you still go ahead and do it. Why? Because of faith. And I forgot. I'll paraphrase here. I read it somewhere. I can't remember the exact quotes, but the man said, "Faith is the excuse people came up with to excuse the absence of the BS in religion, basically something like that." So, this thing doesn't make sense, but have faith.
Okay, but. For example, now that you mentioned faith, I think there's a verse in the Bible that says faith without works is nothing. Kind of. Okay, like let me there's this book. I don't know if you've read it before. There's this book written by the Jews. I can't remember the title of the book anymore. I think Business Wisdom from the Torah, the Jewish Torah. I think that's what the book is about. I can't remember, but I think that's what it is. So there's a story they told there. And they said one guy has been disturbing God, telling God, make me rich, make me rich, make me rich. Do you see what I mean? He has been saying, make me win the lottery and make me rich, this, that. He kept on saying it. Now, it's all about faith, isn't it? Then at the point, like, it was just a joke. At the point that God got upset, I was like, man, every time, make me rich. Meet me halfway, buy a lottery ticket. So the point I'm trying to make here is, I think, that's why I keep saying I don't think religion is the problem. I think people are the problem themselves, not the religion. Because if you, for example, if you want to, let's say, how when people used to do this back then, instead of reading, they will keep praying and praying and praying, then they'll go and fail, and then they'll start saying God may help them. Say, you must do something, you must put in effort to actually get anything. So you praying or having the faith is that you've done your own part. Do you see what I mean? You must do something. But here is that people don't want to do anything, and then they end up praying and praying. And I don't believe in that.
And a lot of them don't want to do anything because, or they do what they feel they have to do because of what their religious views on whatever action they are taking or they're trying to take. Yeah. So, a lot of Nigerians are not lazy. Nigeria is not a lazy country. People still struggle. People still work. But there's that, a lot of people don't make the extra moves they would make, or they don't go that extra step they would take because the pastor hasn't asked them to take it yet, or the pastor has convinced them that, or the man of God has convinced them that move is not sanctioned by the God or by whatever God it is they believe in. So it keeps them stagnant. Religion. The problem with religion is because the doctrine never really changes. It's subject to interpretation. Is that stagnancy it brings about?
Yeah.
So people just sit down there and the Bible said this and that's that. So I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to make this move. But I agree that the people are the problem, but the people are greatly influenced by the religious practices or by whatever they believe in, their religious beliefs at any point in time. And if a society, and if
think
a
about
society
it.
is consumed, if a society is consumed by their religious beliefs or by religion, there is a chance there will be some stagnancy until they realize, okay, you know what, we have to separate this from this and tackle this, because this is it's in our hands to tackle this, to make this place better, while we still believe in whatever we believe, but take sentiments aside, things will remain the same.
Okay, so we were saying the same thing now. So do you think, because I still think, do you still think religion is the problem or people are the problem? Because, for example, you gave an example with Jim Jones and I mentioned Osho, for example. Yes. These two people started their own thing and people started following them. They came up with those things themselves, their own perception of the world, and actually they've developed a cult following, isn't it? Yes. And grew a cult following and people started following them and believed him. Does that necessarily mean that religion is a problem? Or is it just that people became so gullible that they believe a person, a mortal person, just like you and I?
Yes, because it's the same way people believe Pastor Chris or Pastor Oyedepo. If Oyedepo comes tomorrow and tells his congregation, hey, you know what, sell all your belongings and bring the proceeds here, trust me, a cross section of them will do it. Okay. If Pastor Chris, a lot of Christ Embassy people have the vaccine hesitancy. Why? Because Pastor Chris said it's a 5G thing.
No, I get that part, but
yes, what I'm saying, his thoughts are inspired by religion. If Pastor Chris comes out today and says, sell all you have and bring the money here, he's going to convince himself that it's God speaking to him. That there's some religious backing to what he's thinking.
Yeah.
All these Oshos, the David Koreshes, the Jim Jones, name them. These people grew up religious to an extent. They had whatever religion they used to believe in, before they decided one day, somebody's whatever it is speaking to me, or I'm inspired, or I've read a lot, and I've decided that I'll interpret this part of whatever I used to believe in this way.
Yeah.
And then they go ahead and convince people, you know what, we're going to practice polygamy now. We're going to practice this, or we're going to practice that. The Mormons technically are Christians, but it's more like a sect in in Christianity, and they have their beliefs because somebody had an epiphany or whatever it was and decided, this is what it is. And people will join whatever, if you sound convincing enough. Okay, an example is what's this guy on death row right now? Guy that is on death row in Nigeria, Pastor King, Reverend King.
Yeah.
Reverend King had this, he had this massive following. Funny enough, before Reverend King was convicted of his crimes, I read about him. I think it was on Sunday Sun, a couple years before he was, convicted of the crimes. And there was this charismatic, and he would come down and people would lay down and they would want him to walk over them and all those things. And they talked about him in glowing terms and everything. Fast forward a few years later, he did what he did. He's on death row now. The crazy thing is, when he was already on death row back a couple years ago, I was talking with one of this guy, some guy I knew who was a follower of his, and the guy was convinced that Reverend King was innocent and that he was going to be free one day and whatever. He wouldn't hear anything about the guy, anything bad. Oh yes, what you believe in, And then these days, what people will always tell you whenever you tell them, hey, look, this thing, what this person did might be wrong because he did this. These are the facts. They'll tell you, you're being brainwashed by the media, or by social media, or by mainstream media. Yes, that's what people tell you these days. You're being brainwashed by the media. So it's crazy. People don't want to hear the truth because they have what they already believe in. And a lot of these thoughts and beliefs are religious based, or their thoughts have religious backing. So you can't separate the two. You can't separate humans' instinctive moves or predilections or whatever it is from what it is they believe in that is somehow backed by their religious views. I don't know if if that makes sense. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say in essence. Yeah.
I get that. I get that, but I still just like we mentioned before, like if you have somebody who believes so much in maybe like the pastor and all, and the person doesn't necessarily read the Bible, I don't think we blame religion for that, because the person is so, because what that religion has given a person is the Bible as a way of life. For example, to read and understand something, and the person doesn't read the Bible, the person believes whatever he heard, the pastor says. I don't think religion is to blame here, because the person is just being brainwashed by another mortal just like him. The person, okay, for example, I know what you mean, but I think at the end of the day, I feel religion is a problem if they believe so much in what the other person is saying without really trying to find out the truth for themselves.
But sorry, let me interrupt you a little here. But you have to understand, animals would naturally look up to a leader. It's just what it is. It's the way of the world. People will always look up to someone for either inspiration or for leadership or for mentorship
No, I get that. But if someone is actually brainwashing other people who he's leading, or who are under his care and protection, I wouldn't blame religion for that, because the person knows because see, there's something about human beings, and it's even in the Bible. Let's even link it down to the Bible. If it's in the Bible that if somebody sees how the person can actually deceive you and get away with it, that they will do it. So the pastor is no different. If the pastor sees that he can actually brainwash those people and get away with it, maybe get gift from them, get money from them, whatever, and make sure that the other is influence and control. And this still goes back to what I actually said. I think every human being, whether they want to accept it or not, like power and influence. Because pastors are a good example. You know what I mean? They like that fact they can actually say something and influence people, and they do what. And
but it's true. I mean, think about secondary school back then. Oh, you're a senior boy now. You have pants on. You're putting on pants, trousers.
Yeah.
Oh, you can just hey, junior boys, last person. You can just point. Wave your hand, and all these boys on shorts will run towards you, and you wave your hands, and they'll do this. You wave your hand. Power is intoxicating. I can't. Just before I left boarding house, then in SS3, before my mom withdrew me, I campaigned to be actually I acted for a bit, ref prefect. And I know the power he came with, and it felt good. Everybody gets a loaf of bread every morning. You get 4 standard. 4 was the standard. You could get 10 on a good day if there were extra, but you got 4. Everybody gets one egg, you get 10. So it's the same thing with life. With pastors, with everything. The only difference with these pastors is they have something to back whatever it is they are saying in their heads.
Yeah.
They have scripture, not in their heads. They have scripture to back whatever it is they are. Oh, touch not my anointed. So you know what? I can say and do whatever and get away with it. Because the Bible says touch not my anointed. And these people who read the Bible every day, they read the Bible. You know where you're getting it wrong?
Yeah.
You say some of these people are, casual Bible readers. They go to church on Sunday and they don't touch their Bibles till the next Sunday.
A lot of people are.
You're getting it wrong. A lot of these people are. Yeah, I know a lot of people are, but there's still a cross section of people out there who read their Bibles every day. They have this their daily guide. They read whatever is in daily guide. They read. Sometimes they just read the Bible randomly, but they still believe whatever it is this man of God says. It's so bad with some people that he can clearly go against something written in the scripture, and they'll believe him because why? He's God's anointed. He's God's elect. And the same goes for world leaders. The person doesn't necessarily even have to be a pastor, as long as some people have been convinced that whatever leader they have was sent by God. It doesn't matter to them what you think, what he does. He can kill someone and get away with it. Oh, he was sent by God. It doesn't matter. If there's another leader, if he was usurped by another leader, the new leader is not legitimate, even if he was voted in by the people or whatever. Because why? The other person was sent by God. It doesn't matter to them what you're saying. But they've been brainwashed, they've been convinced that this person was sent by God, and this is all religion. It's still, the common umbrella, the common factor here, or common denominator is religion.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say, yes.
So, since you've actually said it's all about power, the power intoxicates, and you said that these pastors can actually, because of the power they know they can actually end up saying things they're not supposed to say just to make sure that they're in control. So if it's all about power, now it's a personal thing. human beings, so we get that power, we end up saying stupid shit. And the thing is, I know people don't like to accept, like I keep saying it, human beings we like power die. Whether we like
true.
We like power die. Because the moment if you notice, most of those the moment someone sees they cannot control you or they cannot influence you, they cannot influence you in any way, they get uncomfortable to start with. So those pastors, just imagine now, like there are people in his congregation who actually question the things he says, things he does. Do you think that's the best way to go, right? Thinking about it now, do you think the best thing to do is to actually question if, for example, Pastor Chris is saying that whatever he's saying about COVID, 5G, and or do you think it will do religion a lot of good in Nigeria or all over the world if people actually start questioning these things? People they hear their pastors and religious leaders actually say
the thing with questioning is just very few. It's just a minute, a very very few people actually will do that questioning.
Yeah,
will break out of the fold and question. Most people will not question. Most people will take whatever the pastor says hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
So when you have very few people doing it, what happens is when those few people don't get answers, or when they get hounded by the other sheep for going against doctrine or what's written down, you don't question the man of God, or all these things. When they get hounded a lot, what happens? They become atheists or agnostics, or they stop attending church. They might still be religious people, but they're like, you know what? I'm never stepping my foot into a church, or I'm never doing anything with a religious gathering or group any longer. And that's what happens. Most people will not question anything. Some of these crazy leaders, sects, leaders of sects or cults did whatever they did, but it didn't stop them from having followers.
Yeah.
A lot of dictators have existed in the world today, committed atrocities and done whatever it is they did, but they still have followers, especially the ones who try to bamboozle people with religion, or was sent by this god or that god or whatever. They still believe, whatever this person did was for the greater good. It's crazy. People believe, if this man killed 1 million of the population, well, maybe it was for the greater good. Okay, I was talking with one of my aunts a couple weeks or months ago, and she said something about, God can use a pagan or a bad leader, or someone perceived as bad, whose character, who has character flaws, for his agenda. After all, God used a certain king, is it King Darius in the Bible or something, a pagan king, to do whatever it was he did. I never got to read up on that part of the Bible. And I'm like, but it contradicts everything we know about the Bible. If God is using someone, if someone is God's anointed, the person, when God decided to use Saul at the time, he arrested him, spiritually, become a new creature. There's this verse about becoming a new creature if God has touched you or whatever. And then it will reflect in your character. You're not going to be the same old person you were. Even if God picks you up as a non-believer, over time, his virtues are supposed to reflect in you. And then you become a new creature and you act in his ways. But some dictator or whoever it is out there can do whatever he does, get away with it. And people still make excuses for him. It is what it is. Okay, even if 10 million people died. There are people who believe Hitler was sent by God.
Hitler was sent.
No, for real.
Who believes that?
The crazy thing about I went to the Holocaust Museum a couple months ago, and the crazy thing about it is that even the church did not see the persecution of the Jews as a problem for centuries. Yeah, for centuries, even before the Holocaust started. And then even when these people did whatever they did, these Nazi officials, the same Catholic Church helped a lot of them escape to South America, escape and resettle there. A lot of those Nazi officers.
Yeah.
So that means somehow they believed, there must have been politicking in it, but they still believe somehow that whatever happened for a reason. The church generally has always had this resentment towards the Jews because they felt, oh, the Jews killed Christ, whatever. And then apart from that, there's been a lot of stuff that's happened over millennia,
Yeah.
But people still believe whatever they believe, no matter how crazy shit is. Good. You can tell good from evil, but then when some kind of evil happens, and your favorite does it, you're like, well, maybe God sent him. Yeah, God lets it happen for a reason. There are black people who have backed slavery with religion. I saw someone tweet something like that a couple years ago. Slavery was God's way of introducing his black people to Christ. I'm like, does this even make sense to you? That's what somebody said or typed. So you see how crazy it is. So when I see what?
Could you say that again? The slavery is what?
Oh no! Someone tweeted something about slavery being God's way of introducing black, bringing black people to His fold, introducing black people to Him. Wow. So that slavery was a necessary evil. Yeah, that's usually the term they use. Necessary evil. And I'm like, if I see something like why would I as a black person see something like this and tomorrow I want to go to church? When I even hear about all the atrocities, committed by some of these slave masters, under the guise of religion. So I mean, I wouldn't do it. It's just not for me. I believe in logical thinking. I believe in if this then that. If this makes sense, then true or false. I don't believe in being sentimental with my thoughts.
Yeah.
And then there's another argument. My final argument in this is, if you believe God created the heavens and the earth and created all He created and created man on the sixth day, right?
Yeah.
If you believe all that, then there's probably a flaw in His design. Because if God created man in His own image and likeness, and man is as evil as man can inherently be, there's that inherent evil in the world today, then there's a flaw in the design. And it is what it is. So yeah. So yeah, that ends my argument.
Yeah, but I'm actually thinking about everything you said. I don't know, because I still believe it is still down to people. Because people like to, and the moment you show anybody mistakenly that you can he or she can easily influence you, manipulate you, is a problem. So now, because I'm thinking about it, like, if that's what these pastors hold on to, or these religious people, leaders hold on and realize, okay, you know what, we can actually brainwash these people easily, so let's tell them anything. I wouldn't blame religion, because human beings, okay, I think it's in the Bible, like God gave I can't remember the particular story, but I know there's someone in the Bible that God gave an order to go and tell people of Israel about something. He went and told them something else, like to push his own agenda. Yeah. And at the end of the day, God wasn't happy with him, because at the end of the day, I don't think it's religion. It's all how the person pushing his own agenda. That's how I see it.
Yeah, but in my final argument, what I said is, if humans will push their own agenda regardless of what religion has asked them to do, which was supposedly good, then there was a flaw in the design. This is for Christians, though. I don't know what other religions, how they believe the world came about. I'm just speaking for Christianity. I grew up a Christian, so if humans are inherently evil or have that tendency to be deceitful from birth, because you even see with babies, then there was a flaw in the design. Yeah, then God, who created us, made a mistake somewhere, or maybe it was deliberate on His part. I don't know. But I don't believe all that. I'm just saying, if that is what you believe, then that is where the whole problem started from a flaw in the design.
Flaw in the
No, of humans.
Okay, how?
Now I'm confused. So if a human being is born and has the tendency to be very deceitful, from babies, you see babies doing it, you see toddlers doing it. It's like, oh, they're innocent, they don't really know what they're doing. Then they grow up and keep doing the same thing. You grow up, you're thinking of how to take advantage of the next person out there.
Yeah.
It's almost like you can't rise in society without taking advantage of other people. Then there's something wrong with the human design as it is. Because if everybody's created to be, if everybody's created in God's image and God's image is loving this, that, and everything, then God is not supposed to be a deceitful God, I guess.
Yeah.
So if humans were created in His image, then why are we the way we are? Is it learned behavior?
Okay, but let's put it this way. Since we're all made in God's image and God created human beings to know right and wrong. If somebody ends up tilting towards the wrong side and decide, okay, you know what, I'm just going to manipulate everybody in my path. All right? Because if you notice, most of the time, people who manipulate play those kind of games, are always the weaker ones. If you notice it,
okay,
like are always the weaker one, because they try as much as possible. Like weaker ones try to manipulate more. I don't know why.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, I said more. I'm not saying all the time.
I don't.
Most of the time.
No, I don't think I believe this argument of yours that weaker people tend to cower in fear, to be withdrawn, to try not to interact. It's the stronger. What I think the argument should be is that when a weaker person realizes he has some little powers, and at that point should no longer be considered a weak person, and there's that tendency for him to try to take advantage of others. It's almost like a one-eyed man in the community of blind people.
Yeah.
If you feel, okay,
okay. So you think weaker people tend to be withdrawn?
Yeah, I think if one considers himself to be weak, to be feeble, to be timid, think about growing up. Think about secondary school. Secondary school is a good is the best thing to use to illustrate this. Think about the so-called what did we call them? The so-called Jew men, in quotes.
Yeah.
You notice that the so-called people who are the so-called Jew men were usually withdrawn, and they wouldn't interact much. They were just within their own little circle. They didn't try to do much. Yeah, and then people who were confident or who didn't care or anything would do their own thing. So those people, those so-called Jew men, were considered the weak ones. They were the people who are usually bullied, who are usually extorted the most, or whatever.
True.
Exactly. Or sometimes they were left alone because people just felt, this one has nothing to offer. He's just, get out of my way.
Yeah.
So, exactly.
Well, on that note, this is where we're going to end today.
Okay.
That's another topic entirely, but I would like to talk about that one. That's another topic entirely, but on that note, this is where we're going to stop today. And it's been a long chat, and thank you, Stunna, for coming on the show.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
Because I don't think, even if till next year, I don't think.
Oh yeah, it could take 1 year and we'll still be arguing this. Yeah, true. That's the problem with religious arguments.
Yeah, I don't think you believe that you accept that good side to it anyway. Or do you think religion has any good side to it?
Any what exactly to it?
I think religion has any good side to it.
I mean, yeah, naturally, everything, like I said earlier, like there's the good side to everything. So, do I believe it's a problem? Yes, I do. Do I think it should exist? Yeah, to an extent, but not in the way it manifests itself today. But the problem is, can it manifest itself in a different way? I don't think so. It is what it is. So the argument could be, should it exist or should it not exist? I can't say, honestly. I just feel people should be able to use their brains better.
I believe that, because I feel people should be able to actually think for themselves and come up with think logically and come up with their own.
Exactly.
I don't really like there's this thing, you can actually link it to religion. I don't really believe in second-hand information. I don't like it because, for example, let's say someone tells you stuff. Someone tells me stuff about you, and I come and tell you the stuff. Most of them, maybe to push my own agenda, I'll say it in such a way that the other person hates you.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. I don't like second-hand information. Second-hand information, most of the time, it's rubbish. So, but the point I'm trying to make here is like it would be good for people like even if they are so-called religious leaders actually tell them this or that. It would be good for them to actually go back and think about this thing clearly, think about it logically, and ask themselves, does it thing really make sense?
Well, true. It's not just in religion, you know, with politics, with everything.
Exactly.
You know, we you know.
That's what I'm saying. So
you should be able to, you know, that's where discernment comes in. You should be able to like tell. You should be able to think. Actually, that's why we have a brain. That's why we have brains.
Yeah. But anyway, let's end here. And thank you so much for coming on the show. And I've had a wonderful time. Yeah.
All right. No, until next time.
All right. See you soon.
All right. Yeah.
All right.